next speaker is the host of the Progressive Soapbox and radio show out of Washington, D.C., Fault Lines on 105.5 FM, Jamarl Thomas.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I quibbled back and forth over what to actually talk about, but I think I'm going to start with unemployment. 1 million people filed for unemployment last week. This compounds with 1 million that filed before that. On top of the 1 million people that filed, 12 million people had to file or basically are out of healthcare at this very moment in the midst of a pandemic. This combines with the 27 million people that were out of healthcare even after Obamacare was signed. There are people who are basically flung into the streets from their homes because they couldn't necessarily afford to pay their rent. And understand all of these things are acts of policy. They're not acts of God. There were choices that were made to benefit one over the other. In Wisconsin, right now, there are riots. Now, people who are, let's say, the comfortable class will wag their fingers at those riots, but they always and never necessarily deal with the realities that were there as precursors. No one in their right mind wants to be out there angry and perturbed and throwing stuff. They're visiting violence upon people who are, let's say, somewhat in an indiscriminate manner. But again, no one wants to pay attention to what was visited on them prior. The poverty rate for African Americans in Kenosha, Wisconsin was 39%. For whites, 13%. Their majority, if you're looking for areas that have a majority African American population, the overwhelming majority are either prisons or jails. That's astonishing. Those are acts of policy. That's horrendous. I'm making the point to you that these things are visited on your society, and it being visited on your society, no one cares up to that point. Compare and contrast that with the beauty pageants that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party had. Neither one of these parties are dealing with the real material concerns of this population. Both of these parties have realized that basically, because it's only two, both can be captured by corporate class, and both can have somewhat of a similar interest powered by the people who are basically putting money in their pocket, sliding credit cards through their butt cheeks. This is our politics. We accept this. There is no way out in a political sense for this. The only way out is to extricate yourself from the political party, stand under the banner of policy. Do you realize we dragged Medicare for All over the burning corpse of 20 Democrats, all of them taking their shots, all of them doing whatever they can to poke holes in that policy, and we win 88% support in the context of a party. And we're not even talking about the rest of the population with 69% support. If you can't get that over the finish line with Biden, Pelosi, Schumer telling you to kick rocks, you can get nothing over the finish line regarding policy that you want. The only move, the only strategy is to leave and to stand under the banner of policy and make a demand. You get our vote, we represent our interests. This is our litmus test. And that is true for any candidate, by the way. It is their responsibility to get your vote regardless of what party they belong to. I'm making the point that if you are a lefty and you don't get it at this point, this is your task. This is your play. If the Democratic Party really does believe, after 30 million people make a demand and say, this is what we want, and you don't appropriate that, and they're willing to tank it to a man they're considering the apocalypse, any notion of representative government is dead. That's the first point. But the second point is your legitimacy goes to the degree to which you can maintain, let's say, a demand and being willing to go through with that demand. The People's Party is a platform that allows you to deal with that, to do that, to state your political case, to function and push for your political objectives. Which is why I say, yes, vote for the party or the people who you believe represent your interests the most. But from the standpoint of the People's Party, I love what Nick has done, and it has my support thoroughly.